Today we're going to talk about dividing decimals and fractions. So first we're going to start with dividing decimals. Before we can begin dividing decimals, we have to know two vocabulary words. The divisor is the number outside, or the number you're dividing by. The dividend is the number inside, or the number that is being divided. So the first thing you need to do is look at the divisor. What am I dividing by? If it has a decimal, we have to change it by multiplying by the number 10 until the divisor is a whole number. So if we are going to multiply by 10, the number on the outside, we have to do the same thing to the dividend, the number on the inside, and multiply it by 10 as well. And then we are going to bring our decimal straight up, and we are going to do division, just like you do regular long division. So the first example says 7.8 divided by 0.6. So we're going to put this in our division house. Because what I'm dividing by 0.6 has a decimal in it, I have to create a whole number. So when I multiply by 10, it's going to move my decimal one space to the right. So I also have to do that in my dividend. Move it one space to the right. So now instead of dividing by 0.6, I'm dividing by 6. And instead of dividing 7.8, I'm dividing 78. So I have 78 divided by 6 because I moved my decimal one to the right. So I have to move this decimal one to the right, and I'm going to bring it straight up. Okay? How many times does 6 go into 7? One time. 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. And I'm going to bring down my 8. So now how many times does 6 go into 18? 3 times. I'm going to multiply. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract. 18 minus 18 is 0. Now, a couple things to note here. My remainder is 0. That means I'm done dividing. So I don't need any numbers or any zeros past my decimal. My answer is just a whole number of 13. So my answer is a whole number of 13. All 7th graders should be doing this by hand and not using a calculator. In 7th grade, we do not get to use a calculator on our STAR test, so we have to practice everything by hand. Let's look at example number 2. Example number 2 says 4.56, or 4 and 56/100ths, divided by 0.8. Because I am dividing by a number with a decimal, I'm going to have to move that. So what my decimal originally looked like is 4.56. And outside I have 0.8. So because I have a decimal on the outside, in order to make this a whole number, I'm going to have to move it one time. One time to the right. So I'm going to move this decimal one time to the right. So my new decimal is between the 5 and the 6. I'm going to bring it straight up. And now I'm going to do my long division. How many times can 8 go into 45? That would be 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. I subtract and I get the number 5. I'm going to bring down my 6. How many times can 8 go into 56? That would be 7. 7 times 8 is 56. So I get a 0. This is my remainder. My remainder will not always be 0. I might have a 1 here, And in that case, I would have to add a 0 and bring it down. All right, let's try our word problem, and then we're going to have a quick reflection. So Chun purchased 15 combination locks for a total of $53.85, excluding tax. How much did each lock cost? So my total is $53.85, and I bought 15 locks. So in order to figure out how much one lock cost, I need to divide $53.85 by 15. Does my divisor have a decimal? No. So because it's already a whole number, I don't need to change anything. I'm going to bring my decimal straight up. Now, how many times can 15 go into 53? 3 times. 3 times 15 is 45. When I subtract, I can't subtract 3 minus 5, so I can borrow. So 13 minus 5 is 8. I'm going to bring down my 8. How many times can 15 go into 88? That would be 5 times. 5 times 15 is 75. When I subtract, 8 minus 5 is 3, and 8 minus 7 is 1. That's a big number, but it's okay because it's still smaller than 15. So that means I've done my math correctly so far. And let's bring down the number 5. How many times can 15 go into 135? That'll be 9 times. If you don't know this multiplication, that's okay. You can go over to the side and you can try. 15 times 7. 5, carry my 3, 7, 8, 9, 10 is 105. Nope, that's not close enough to 135. I need to try 15 times 8. And you keep going until you get the number you need. That's okay. All right, 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4 is 13, and I have a remainder of 0. So how much did each lock cost? Each lock cost $3.59. So I want you to take just a minute and write your reflection. What do you need to remember when dividing decimals? Push pause and write your reflection. All right, welcome back. We are going to be dividing fractions. So the first thing you need to know when we are dividing fractions is this sentence or statement that has a big star by it. Mixed numbers must be written as an improper fraction. Remember, an improper fraction means you're going to have a big number over a small number. So before we even start dividing, let's try to remember, how do I change a mixed number? So if my mixed number is 2 3/4, how do I change this to an improper fraction? I'm going to take the denominator and I'm going to multiply by my whole number. 2 times 4 is 8. And then I'm going to add my numerator. 8 plus 3 is 11. And when we have fractions, we always keep the denominator the same. So, one more time. What if I have 4 1/3? What am I going to do first? I'm going to multiply. 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And I'm going to add 1. Adding 1 is 13, and my denominator stays the same. 13 divided by 3. Okay? So that's step number 1. Before we do any dividing of fractions, we have to make sure mixed numbers are rewritten as improper fractions. Once we do that, we are going to multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal. Reciprocal means to flip. The reciprocal of the second fraction. And then we're going to simplify. So let's go look at our first example. 3/4 divided by 1/2. Do I have any mixed numbers? I do not. So all I'm going to do is rewrite the first fraction, 3/4, and then I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Reciprocal means to flip my fraction. So instead of 1/2, it will be 2/1. And last week we did a video on multiplying fractions. All we do now is multiply straight across. 3 times 2 is 6, and 4 times 1 is 4. What do I need to do next? I need to divide or simplify. I can divide both of these numbers by 2, which will give me 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. This is an improper fraction. It's not wrong, you just might not see that answer choice. So how do I change an improper fraction back to a mixed number? Well, if I had to multiply and add to get from a mixed number to an improper fraction, to go the other way, then I'm going to divide and subtract. So I read this fraction as 3 divided by 2. So I am going to go do a division of 3 divided by 2. How many times can 2 go into 3? 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Subtract, and I'm left over with 1. So how will I write my final answer? My whole number is located at the top. This is my whole number. So I have a 1. And then my remainder. This is my part. In a fraction, your part is the numerator, and my denominator stays the same. 2 and 2 has to stay the same. So 3/2 or 3/2 is the exact same as 1 and 1/2. All right, let's go try example number 2. Example number 2 says 3 2/5 divided by 4. I see two things here. The first thing I see is a mixed number. So let's go to the side and let's go change that mixed number. 3 2/5. I'm going to multiply. 5 times 3 is 15. And I'm going to add 2 to get 17/5. 17/5 is my new my new improper fraction. So this fraction now becomes 17/5. I am dividing. 4 is a whole number. What can we do in math to change a whole number to a fraction? We can put it over 1. So now we need to go change our division to a multiplying by the reciprocal. So 17 divided by 5, or 17/5, times the reciprocal. Instead of 4/1, it'll say 1/4. And we multiply straight across. 17 times 1 is 17, and 5 times 4 is 20. Can I simplify or divide these by the same number? No. Is this improper? No, because my small number's on top. So this is my final answer, 17/20. All right, last problem. Bernice had 1 7/8 yards of ribbon. If she cuts them into pieces that are 1/16 of a yard long, how many pieces of ribbon will she have? So my whole is 1 7/8. That's my whole amount of ribbon. And I'm going to cut it into pieces that are 1/16 wide. So what I am taking is 1 7/8, and I am dividing by 1/16. I want you to push pause, and I want you to change this mixed number into an improper fraction. So push pause for me. All right, you should have done 1 times 8 is 8, plus 7 is 15, and my denominator stays the same. I have 15/8. Instead of division, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. 1 over 16, the reciprocal would be 16 over 1. So because this is multiplication, we're going to go straight across. I might not know what 15 times 16 is, so I'm going to go over here and do it. 15 times 16. 6 times 5 is 30, carry my 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Have a placeholder of 0. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 1 is 1. When I add these together, I get 240. So 240 over 8. What can I divide both of these numbers by? I can divide them both by 8. 240 divided by 8 is 30, and 8 divided by 8 is 1. 30 over 1, or 30 divided by 1, equals 30. So she can make 30 pieces of ribbon from her one long string of ribbon. I want you to take a minute and reflect. What do you need to remember when you divide fractions? Make little keynotes for you right there, and then make sure that you remember the difference between dividing decimals and dividing fractions.